So hello, welcome to the video and welcome to Mauritius, filming another video on location today. And welcome to the third annual How Many Avios Did I Earn and Spend Last Year video. And as with the previous 2 years versions of this video, my goal is to help you earn more Avios and to spend them better. But I have a few opening comments to make and I'm going to put them before the credits roll because I think they're all quite important. Now, I still believe in Avios. Now, BA has told many of us, quite emphatically, that they're not that interested in our loyalty going forward. And if you've been living under a rock for the last month or so, you may not have picked up on BA's announcement of their radical overhaul of the Executive Club. Indeed, it's no longer going to be called the Executive Club, it's just going to be called the Club. And those changes are to the detriment of pretty much anyone who uses their own money to pay for travel. People who travel on expensive tickets paid for by their employer are actually not going to directly benefit either. But they will indirectly benefit as next to nobody else is going to be able to achieve status, which means the lounges will all be nice and empty. Well, you don't have to tell me I'm not wanted twice, so from now on my paid business is going to be going to airlines other than BA wherever possible. But I still believe in Avios, and it's important to remember that Avios is a separate business to BA. It's owned by the Avios company, which I will concede is a sister company of BA within the IAG group. But lots of people have commented that now BA has gutted the loyalty side of their club, it's surely only a matter of time before they gut the redemption side as well, which would mean devaluations. And by devaluation, I mean that the cost of redemptions are increased such that the value of the Avios you're holding devalues because you can get less far with them. But Avios are the loyalty currency used by airlines beyond just BA, and crucially they are now used by airlines not even in the IAG group, and specifically Finnair and Logan Air. So I think the risk of BA massively devaluing its element of the Avios pie is actually not that great. I may be wrong and I may have these comments thrown back at me in the very near future, but let me explain why I think that. The value of a currency, and remember that Avios are effectively a currency, is set by both the supply and demand side. And BA has already done a number of things to greatly reduce the rate at which people are earning Avios. They've greatly reduced the number you earn when flying by linking them to the price you paid for the ticket. And the changes that they've made to the Executive Club, the Club, means that far fewer people will be flying on BA, which means far less Avios are going to be accumulated into the club. So these two throttlings of the pace at which people acquire Avios are effectively a devaluation of BA's corner of the Avios empire. But they're both measures on the supply side of Avios which BA can still control. But on the demand side, you now need to think how one airline's actions are going to affect the other airlines that use this same currency. So if one airline devalues by increasing its redemption cost, that will push business towards the other airlines that use that currency because their redemptions will look relatively better value. And often we're talking about flights between the same city pairs and often the actual same flight that can be redeemed onto through different schemes. The bottom line is that I don't think Finnair is going to be thrilled if BA trebles its redemption costs overnight, as a wave of business is now going to flow towards Finnair as their redemptions now look much better value. And I think this effect could be so strong that I would really hope that the airlines not in the IAG group who've signed up to use Avios have got some clauses in their agreement which prohibit or limit the way that this can be done. Now, the IAG group has proven on many occasions that they're not very good at getting these sorts of things right, but it's still something that I would imagine exists. But now Avios are wider than just the IAG group, I really hope there is some sort of control mechanism built into the back end of the system. Now, sorry if that's all a bit dull, but I really wanted to get it off my chest. And having put this into the public domain, no doubt I will be proven wrong almost immediately. But my instinct is that Avios will remain a very valuable resource for some time to come. And I am still keen on accumulating them and on spending them. BA will probably tinker with its redemption tables, and there are reports that Qatar has been doing a little bit of tinkering recently as well. But I will continue to earn them and burn them, and I feel I am still getting exceptional value from doing so. BA doesn't feel that it gets value out of me for my paid business, but I feel I get value out of BA for my redemption business, and I see no reason why I shouldn't continue to do so. So if you'd like to see how many Avios I earned in 2024 and what they cost me on average, and if you'd like to see how many Avios I spent in 2024 and the notional value I received for them, stick around.
Hi, I'm Matt and this is Matt's Planet. I aim to entertain, educate and inspire with my travel adventures from planning to execution. I'll show you how you can travel in style for a lot less than you'd think. So subscribe so you can come with me.
So I've gone through my Executive Club account, assembled all of the data, and here are the 9 categories where I acquired Avios in 2024. And the first of them is by flying, and I did quite well, the best of the 3 years I've been tracking. Now I only ever really buy tickets every other year when I'm renewing my status with BA. That renewal spread across 2 years, 23 and 24, and 24 was my tier point run from Dublin down to Los Angeles. Now I booked that ticket before BA changed the basis of earning Avios, so those were earned under the old scheme, and I think I did okay. If I'd have bought it after the Avios change had been announced, I would have probably earned less than 5,000 Avios for those flights. So you can see how BA is effectively devaluing the supply side of Avios through that change. In 2025, I would not be shocked if the amount of Avios I earned from flying was 0. Next up is Nectar, a negligible amount, but they all count. This is the Sainsbury's loyalty program where you can convert their Nectar points across to Avios. I wouldn't do it the other way, but certainly doing it in this direction does earn me a few over the course of a year. My Amex spend is pretty consistent year on year. Remember, this is a mix of 1.5 times spending on non-BA spend and 3 times on BA. There was a little bit of BA spend this year, not so much the flight that I took that earned me Avios, but in terms of the taxes and fees on the redemptions, which qualifies as a BA spend. But even if you disaggregate that, I am a long way off putting £25,000 a year through my Amex, which is where we think the level will end up being set to earn those 2,500 new tier points into the new BA club. The next one is Amex welcome bonuses, and this is the one category where you guys may struggle to emulate what I'm doing. Having a channel gives me reach, and I quite frequently get emails from people asking for my referral code. I maxed it out this year. I didn't quite manage it last year. In fact, I think I over-maxed it this year. There were a fair few that I put out right at the end of the year where I don't think I earned any Avios referral bonuses because I'd already reached my annual limit. Next up are the Avios I earned from being part of the Barclays Premier scheme. It's $1,500 a month, and I seem to have been credited with 13 months worth in the year. Must be something to do with the dates and the year end. You'll see the cost of these in a moment, but doing that over the course of the year also earns me a upgrade voucher from Barclays. The next is the spend I put through my Barclay card, which is Avios earning at the rate of 1.5 Avios per pound spent. You can see I pretty much squeaked the £10,000 I need to trigger the second Barclays annual voucher, which means I got both of them in the year. And the next category is welcome bonuses, where I got 0. Now, the problem that I've created for myself here by being a YouTuber is that I run my operations through a company and I pay myself a very tax efficient amount out of that company, but it's quite a low amount. So when I do my annual tax returns, my income shows up as being very, very low. And that is a criteria often used by credit card companies. So I didn't see any compelling arguments for applying for a new credit card this year, but even if I had, I'm not convinced I'd actually be getting them now because my income is so low. So whilst this has been a very fruitful avenue for me in the past, I'm going to have to do some engineering of my income to get me back into the sort of levels that credit card companies are going to be interested in. So I suspect this category may remain 0 for another couple of years. The next line, unfortunately, for BA at least, is service recovery, and I had to make 4 complaints over the course of the year. A door that didn't work on my flight down to Sao Paulo, atrocious catering where basically nothing that was listed on the menu was actually available on the flight back up from Rio, and on 2 occasions the Wi-Fi wasn't working. And that generated me quite a few Avios, and it has also done so in previous years. I almost wish that you didn't get Avios this way, but I did, and I have to include them and count them. And finally, sundry. There was an Avis car hire and a few other bits and bobs. Now what you don't see on there is shopping, and as I said, I don't have a particularly high income at the moment, so I don't actually buy much, so there's never much of an opportunity for me to earn Avios by putting money through the BA shopping portal. Now I must confess, I did fail to go through the shopping portal when I bought that Lego set earlier in the year, which cost me a few points, but generally speaking it's not going to be a big earner for me. I am though now using the shopping portal to book hotels through hotels.com. Now they have also gutted their loyalty program, but there is an enormous trail time on those points actually being credited, so I didn't earn any in 2024. Plus it seems to be that they cancel them semi-randomly, having come up with some reason or other which they don't explain to you as to why the purchase that you made actually didn't qualify in the end. So next year's video might reveal some numbers in that category, but I'm not entirely sure it's going to add up to much. So how much did these Avios cost me to acquire? Well, I would argue that the first 6 categories here cost me nothing. Now, arguably, I'm paying a little bit more to the underlying supplier as they're having to pay money to the Avios group to buy the Avios to give to me. But it's very hard to quantify that, and I'm not convinced in many cases it adds up to a great deal. And the referral bonus and the service recovery are all completely free for me. My Amex card cost me £250. I paid the annual fee before it increased in the middle of the year. So there was a cost to those Avios, and the Barclays card also cost me £240, so there was a cost to them too. And those Barclays ones actually ended up costing me quite a lot each. Now, as I've mentioned, the spend on both cards gives me a voucher, and I allocate the cost of those cards entirely to the Avios that they directly earn me, and don't allocate any of it to the cost of the voucher. So when I spend a voucher, it's effectively free. So even though that Barclays card does look like it gives me expensive Avios, the voucher is a significant asset that comes from it as well. And you pay a monthly fee for being part of the Barclays Premier scheme, which I allocate fully against those Avios. So again, the voucher that comes out of that relationship to me is free. So each year I'm earning 3 upgrade vouchers, 1 companion from Amex and 2 from Barclays, and that's quite a lot. And given my recent travel patterns, I'm actually struggling to spend them. So given that those Barclays Avios are expensive, that is probably the card that I would torpedo, move that spend as much as possible towards Amex, and see if it gets me anywhere near the £25,000 worth of spend I need to trigger those tier points under the new scheme. Not that I'm going to be chasing status on the new scheme, but if I could get a third of the way to silver through activity that I'm doing anyway, I might then need to have a bit of a closer look at it. So in total, across those 9 categories, the 263,000 Avios I earned cost me 0.24 of a pence each, about a quarter of a p. That's actually up a whisker on last year, as I didn't get quite so many free Avios from credit card welcome bonuses, but I'm still very happy with that average cost. And you also don't see me buying any Avios, and I really don't need to. Boosting the Avios that you earn organically can be a very good deal though, as you can get them for less than 1p each. If I'd boosted what I earned organically by the maximum available in a year, which is 300,000, and I would have comfortably been able to do so, I would have paid £2,800 for the pleasure, but in total I could have earned 560,000 Avios, which would have cost me about 0.6 of a p each. That's a useful number to keep in mind when you look at how I managed to spend those Avios and the value I got from those redemptions. So how did I spend my Avios? Well, I made 8 redemptions in the year. 2 are for trips that are yet to happen. Madrid, Glasgow, Munich and Belfast were all trips I made to host meetups of my patrons. Check out my Patreon account to see how you can join us on future trips. And I spent 2 vouchers in the year, 1 on BA flights to Jeddah, which I'm covering on the channel, and 1 on an upcoming trip to the US. I noticed that I had a companion voucher that was shortly to expire, so I jumped on it and managed to get a redemption outbound from Dublin to Boston on Aer Lingus, returning from Boston to Madrid on Iberia. Those flights will happen later this year. And the last biggest trip I booked was that multi-partner award, which underpins the trip to Asia I made early last year, which I covered pretty comprehensively on the channel. That's the pricing table BA uses when it's trying to sell you a flight that spans multiple One World partners. Now, there is some opportunity to take advantage of how this table is set up to get outweight value on that redemption. But it's becoming increasingly difficult to make those sorts of bookings. There are some references out there on the internet to how you might do this, but they're largely out of date now, unfortunately. Plus, everything has to go through the BA pricing team, and they seem to have a free hand of vetoing any proposed itinerary that they don't much like the look of. The rules are not very clear, but it does seem as if they are tightening your ability to take advantage of those loopholes. And of course, it's all dependent on finding redemption availability on partner airlines, which is often really tricky. But I got lucky and I was able to tiptoe my way through Asia and back again using 4 different partner airlines. And it still ended up being a fairly expensive trip to book, but as you can see, the notional value of the flights that I took were quite extraordinarily high. That's because they were a sequence of effectively one-way flights which carry a significant premium, and it added up to a very large amount. And that one-way premium has an effect on the Aer Lingus Iberia trip as well, as booking those 2 flights as one-ways is ridiculously expensive. Whenever I look at the value I get for a redemption, it's always theoretical, as there's obviously no way that I would have paid that sort of money for those sorts of trips if I wasn't able to get it via a redemption. But I still think it is well worth showing you that notional value that you are getting. So in total, I spent over 350,000 Avios, which, given I only earned 263, means that I brought my balance down by 95,000 points over the course of the year, which is okay. You should only ever carry a balance that you can see yourself realistically getting through in the next year or 2. The risk of devaluation is there. Even if I'm not so convinced it's going to be major, you really don't want to be stuck with a pile of them if something happens. We've learned that you can't trust BA, and I would extend that to say you can't trust the IAG group. And as the Avios ecosystem is owned by an IAG company, who knows what's going to happen in the future. Manage your balance. But a notional value of 6.5p per Avio is really good. I'll stress that it's a notional value, as nobody in their right mind is going to be buying those tickets for those prices. But given I'm getting my Avios at less than 1/4 of a p each, I am very happy with that result. Indeed, I'm starting to question whether my 1p threshold for spending an Avio might actually be a bit on the low side, as I can consistently do so much better. But then again, if I ever do find myself Avios constrained, I can always boost some at a cost of less than 1p. So on balance, I think my 1p threshold for spending Avios remains the right level. Now, 2 of the redemption trips I booked in the year involved vouchers. As I say, I don't consider them to have a cost for me because I allocate the cost of the card to the Avios that they earn me. But adjusting for the impact of those vouchers, you can see I would have still made those redemptions even if I was paying the full whack and not getting a reduction by using a voucher. And I've smushed the 3 years of tables that I've created together, which now shows that the 936,000 Avios I've spent over those 3 years has averaged me a notional value of just a whisker over 5p each. Pretty happy with that. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this is useful and helpful and will help you up your Avios game, both on the earning and the spending side. Please give the video a like if it has, and leave me a comment. How many Avios did you burn through last year? And if you'd like to support what I'm doing more directly, there is a Patreon account, which I've already mentioned once before. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.